Hello, Taurus, and welcome to your semi-biweekly reading. So this is for Taurus rising or sun signs, and we are looking at that period of time from the full moon to the new moon, so an approximate 2-week period of time. This particular reading, we are doing it a little bit differently this time. I'm experimenting, so you guys can let me know how you like this. But we're going to pull some different cards, just I think that might match up a little bit better with this particular phase of the moon. So, and then let's pull from which deck. I'm feeling this deck here. So as you guys have seen, I've been incorporating more kind of like astrology into the videos, and I just realized like there was just too much to share and it was making the videos super long. So I went ahead and did an astrology highlights video that I put out yesterday. That's for the first half of June. So if you've been enjoying that and you've been liking that, you can check that out. I will also link it somewhere up on the screen as well. So let's just say really quickly, this particular period of the month, we are, for those of you who don't know, I'll say really quickly, the moon has been waxing, gets to this full moon point where it's like pregnant with life, and then it bursts kind of like an egg yolk when you cut into it, and it just spills out after that, after the full moon to the new moon phase, right? So in that waning period, it's like release, letting go. It's a good time to pay attention to those kinds of themes. Every month we have this opportunity, right? And so this month I wanted to take a look at like what kind of belief or shadow might be holding you back from the life that you're wanting to create for yourself, from what you desire. Like where, because like we all have limiting beliefs, we all have shadows, so it's like which one of them is basically reining us in and maybe like blocking us from being able to achieve what it is that we want. And then some spiritual advice about how to actually move through that, how to start to dissipate this, move the energy around this, and kind of move through that. And then we're going to take a look at also how can you be in action about aligning your like what you do with your values and with your life, like with the life that you're, again, like this is all from the perspective of like the life you're trying to create, what's holding you back, and also what actions can you be taking in order to forward that vision, right? So, and then the other card that we'll look at is spiritual guidance to, you know, kind of ferry you through the next 2-week period of time. Like what is something that you're getting as a piece of guidance just overall to help you through the next couple of weeks. And we may see it connected to the rest of the cards, but it may be completely separate itself. I have been dying to use this new deck that I got, and so I've been waiting to break this out just for these moon videos. So it's freshly cleansed. I'm super excited about this deck, and actually I'm feeling this first top card. Interesting. This was what came up before. Okay, so sorry guys, I'm such a goober sometimes. And then we'll take a look at what spiritual advice is also coming through. All right, I'm feeling this card here. Okay, interesting. So again, this is a different spread that I've been doing for this particular, I'll be doing, you know, probably the same one that I've been doing for the new moon to full moon. And again, not to talk about it like all the astrology here, but this full moon is in Sagittarius in tropical astrology, and it's in Scorpio in sidereal astrology. And then we'll be doing from here to the new moon in Gemini in tropical astrology, right? So let's get into this. Let's start out with the shadow card. I feel like that's the place, and then we'll move our way down. Let's get that out of the way. So anger and chains, right? And this deck is meant to be kind of, you know, sometimes really chaotic or violent or gray feeling, or, you know, because it's a shadow deck. So anger and chains. You know, a couple of things that come to mind with this is like, besides it pointing to pretty clearly, like there's some unresolved or unexpressed stuff that's been pressurized and pushed beneath the surface that is having to do with anger, and maybe even feeling like you've chained yourself to that in some way. But I don't really think, like, I've got a different thought about how this is coming through for you specifically. So anger can also help us to break down walls and boundaries and the things that we are chained to as well. Right. And so I think that this can go in a couple different directions. I want to say, like, this is a collective reading. So obviously I'm not reading like one person's energy one-to-one. So keep that in mind, Taurus, that this could go in either direction for you. So on the one hand, I do think this could be about unexpressed anger that needs to be expressed. Like, it needs to, like, scream into a pillow, punch a pillow, go on a really hard run, push your body. I don't know, go to a kickboxing like lesson or whatever it is so that you can do to really move the energy through your body and to release the tension that's built up that maybe is just like a little bit of anger that's built into all this pressurized stuff, or a lot of anger and frustration, right? On the other side, I think that there's some of you who are in situations that where you feel chained to maybe certain like out of obligation or whatever it is, you feel chained to certain people or certain projects or certain things or whatever it is, like you feel like you've chained yourself to things. And, you know, often we put ourselves in these positions where we think that we are committed to, obligated to do something, and like we're not allowed to change our minds once we've committed to something. Now, I'm not encouraging being a flake, but sometimes we need to reevaluate those things that we've committed ourselves to. And sometimes we might feel like other people are tethering us to them or holding us to these places. And I'm not saying that anger is the way that you should go about resolving that, but sometimes the anger building up inside of you is a signal that tells you, hey, this is not working for me anymore, and it moves you into action when you acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, it just like seethes under the surface right there, right? But if you actually acknowledge that this is present and you just are like, yeah, I'm angry, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling pissed off, like I'm holding all of this in, you can utilize that in a conscious way to take action, right? And I think that goes pretty well with the kind of spiritual advice that we have for you with the Hermit card coming through. You know, the Hermit card is meant to be like, this is your guiding light here. And in order to get the answers and to be our own guide, right? This is not to say that you shouldn't ever seek out sagacious like counsel from other people that you trust in your life or counselors or whatever. But this is about your intuition, your guiding light, your internal teacher, guru, whatever you want to call it, and giving yourself the answers. And the way to do that is to make sure that you are taking some time to reflect away from other people. Like, create some space and time where you go on a walk in nature, or you lock the bedroom door and you just like have 30 minutes to yourself to stare at the ceiling and listen to ambient music, whatever it is. But a space that is clear for you to be able to ask yourself these big picture questions about life. You know, how do I feel about my life right now, about the commitments that I have, about who and what I spend my time doing, like who I spend my time around. And, you know, is that still aligned with the vision that I have for what I want to create? And is the vision that I had for what I was moving towards and like driving myself towards, is that still what I really want? Or has that maybe shifted in some way? Maybe certain things or people have come into your life that have like, it doesn't really match the vision that you had, but in a good way. And so there is this need to maybe change where you live or your career or like whatever it is. But you're not going to know that unless you really give yourself the space and the time to consider these big picture questions, to ask yourself, to check in, to reevaluate and feel into it. Right. So I think that that goes very well together with that. I also feel like this fits very well with what we're looking at here, where, where this is the this is the answer to the question, but it's also the question I was just asking, which I think is funny, because this has already happened once now. But this is how, we're looking at, how can you align what you do with what you want to create for your life, with your values, with all these things, right? And the Ten of Pentacles is about creating a stable and secure future for yourself, a life based on, your values, right? And this has to do with creating structures that stand the test of time, whether that's physical, property buying, or your finances, but also just because that's earthy, right? But also what you value. So I would say that these cards feel very much connected, right? And then we come into the Four of Cups as the additional spiritual advice, guidance that you're getting for how to like work through these next 2 weeks, for like something to keep in mind over the next 2 weeks. I like the Four of Cups in some situations. It can be a lovely card because I think it really points to like, hey, open your perspective, like widen your perspective, open your eyes, look around you. There may be opportunities and gifts and things that are like assistance that's coming your way from different directions that you may not be seeing because you're just not really aware of, you're not aware of it because you're not looking for it, or because you're maybe so singularly focused, like kind of like tunnel vision about your vision and what you're doing. So this is more like, hey, widen your perspective. It's not just what's in front of you that there is to concentrate on. If you were to like sit back and look up and like widen your gaze, you would see how much more possibility is available to you and how much more inspiration you might have for where you're going and what you're creating going forward. So that's what I see for you. Again, the astrology video for the first half of June is up. I will put that up on the screen, as well as the monthly video for Taurus. So you can go look at the monthly tarot, which is like more cards than this. It's a bigger layout if you want to take this picture and kind of like integrate it into that picture, you know. So I would just say, check them all out. Why not? They're all here. So if this video gave you some kind of insight or was helpful in some way, please consider giving it a like. It does help me as I'm building the channel. And also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell if you don't want to miss other videos, but also because I'm going to be dropping like a bunch of different kinds of videos as the year goes on. I'm just experimenting with a lot, incorporating more astrology and more stuff. So anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.